should be in for his stop. And the keys, of course, going to be the move of the cars behind him, Rahal, Villeneuve-Vasseur. There they are. Gugelmin now moves toward the edge and drops into the pits. So Mauricio Gugelmin makes his first stop of the day, Gary Gerould.
And just a half lap back, they asked him on the radio. They said, Mo, do you want any changes? He waved them off, said no. So he's in for a cool drink. It'll be fresh Goodyears, a complement of fuel, and we'll see how many position he loses in the process. We're at 12 seconds and counting. 14, and he's rolling. 14.9 is the time.
So Mauricio Gugelmin in and out. One car in trouble. But the rest of the field is able to get on through.
I just wanted to tell you, it was so amazing to see. As soon as Gugelmin came in, Rahal pulled away, Villeneuve pulled away. I mean, it was like they had to be so happy that he finally came in the pit.
Well, Lynn, at the moment that Gugelmin made that stop, Michael Andretti was 8.98 seconds, about 9 seconds ahead. That was almost a freebie over the field because Mauricio was holding him up. Be very interesting to see. That was a critical part of the race, and when we think back over the events of the race, those 10 laps may very well be the story of the race. You know what I mean, Paul? That's a big lead.
Absolutely.
And that, of course, is what Barry Green was talking about, because he wanted his man, Villeneuve, to have been up front ahead of Gugelmin, and he would have been if everything had gone right.
Rahal's already picked up a second of that lead. He's cut it down to 7. So even if he's turning the same exact lap times, it would be hard to, you know, cut it down. He would hold it, but he is going to be really pushing now. So
well,
Rahal's
you see Michael here, of course, he's in heavy traffic, too, so he's losing a big chunk of that. He's behind Hiro Matsushita. And you already saw him shake his fist. Hiro has a reputation for being slow on the track and not noticing the people behind him. There he is. You see, I mean, this is the kind of thing that drives Michael Andretti out of his mind. There, Hiro saw him and he's through.
So Michael is clear.
But how much did he lose? At least a second,
at least a second, if not more. Michael Andretti comes back up to full speed. It doesn't appear that there is much traffic ahead of him now. Bobby Rahal, Jack Villeneuve, Jimmy Vasser, and Teo Fabi round out the top 5, and they'll have to catch
his lead, right, Lynn? Down to 5 seconds.
But Rahal just turned the fastest lap of the race, 108.2 miles an hour. So he is gaining some speed there, not just traffic that's causing him to gain.
There he comes. Now he's in the same picture. There's Rahal with Hiro Matsushita between them. It'll be interesting to see. There's Villeneuve in the blue and white car. And, of course, Vasser in the red and black, and then Fabi in the orange and white.
DeFerrin and Christian Fittipaldi, Robbie Gordon, Raul Boesel, and Danny Sullivan. So that's all of them through the field now. And Michael Andretti still leading, but Rahal is beginning to whittle away on that lead. Rahal really seems to like this track and perform so well here. Now, what about what's going on in the pits with Bobby Rahal? Jack Arute?
Well, Paul, let's ask his Carl Hogan. Carl, looks like once he got the green light, the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, well, actually, we've been held up twice now. I mean, nothing against anyone else, but we have been held up. And Bobby's got a real fast car, and everything's going well. And now that he's got a clear shot, now we got to go after Michael.
Now, what about fuel consumption? When you're running heavy traffic like that, how does that affect the fuel situation?
It's a little tough on the fuel right now. It's a little close. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Paul? Well, of course, Jack, the reason that Bobby was able to go so fast suddenly there was when he was held up, he cooled his tires down. So he got a jump when Mauricio went out of the way.
Well, Michael Andretti leads it, but Rahal's taken almost 4 seconds off of that lead. In third place, Jack Villeneuve and Jimmy Vasser. You just got a view of Jimmy as he tries to close in. And I suspect the front of this field will be climbing down on Michael Andretti fairly quickly. 46 laps complete.
This Ford Fact is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealers. Have you driven a Ford lately? The high cornering forces of an Indy car primarily produced by the tremendous amount of downforce that these cars create. An airplane is designed to lift off the ground, whereas an Indy car aerodynamically is designed to press down to the ground. So much so that at 100 miles per hour, this car actually produces more downforce than it weighs, meaning you could run it upside down and it would stick to the ceiling. At 200 miles per hour, about 50% of the downforce comes from the underside of the car. If we were to flip the car upside down, this is what you would see. This is the underbody or under tray of the car. There's a small opening here where the air is fed into, and then it's drawn down into these tunnels, almost like an expansion chamber. That pulls the air across here, makes a low pressure area. That's where the car is sucked down to the ground. So important is this that in 1996, IndyCar will be making these tunnels narrower, hoping to take about 30% of the downforce away from the IndyCar, slowing them in the corners and hopefully making them a lot safer.
We made history on the American road. Now we're looking to the future. Introducing the new Ford Explorer. The top-selling compact sport utility that has standard dual airbags, as well as the roomiest interior, plus the one with the highest quality of any American compact sport utility. The new Ford Explorer, far and away the best the world has to offer.
This is Michael Andretti's IndyCar. You can't get his engine, you can't get his tires, but you can get his motor oil. Texaco Havoline Formula 3. It's formulated to control volatility and fight oil vaporization. It provides complete protection, and it's the exact same Havoline you can buy right off the shelf, which, by the way, is a heck of a lot easier.
Add more life to your car. Take it to the stars.
ABC Sports coverage of the Molson Indy Toronto. Brought to you by cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place. Target. At Target, you can expect more and pay less. Split Fire, the patented performance spark plug. It only costs more until you use it. And PPG, world leaders in automotive finishes, sponsor of the PPG IndyCar World Series.
We're back in Toronto. Tomorrow night, ABC Sports takes you out to the ballpark. See your favorite team in action on Baseball Night in America. Check your local listings for the game in your area. We'll have live regional coverage tomorrow at 8, 7 Central, here on ABC Sports. Michael Andretti still leads in the Molson Indy Toronto. But look at Herta, look at Villeneuve as they battle together.
We see a car running slowly. There's Vassar right behind.
Sorry.
You meant Vassar right behind Villeneuve there. Tight battle for third.
Well, Michael Andretti, Bobby Rahal, and then Villeneuve and Vassar. And Rahal just upped the ante at 108.2 miles an hour. He is flying. In just 6 laps, he whittled 4 seconds off of Michael Andretti's lead.
Rahal, in addition to his win back here in 1986, has finished second and third any number of times. He's a real master of this track.
This is the fight on the circuit right now. Coverage, by the way, here. Whoa, as Fittipaldi, Christian Fittipaldi, wiggles it back and forth under braking, almost loses it. Marco Greco looks like he's got a problem with the left front, makes it into the pit safely. I'm going to say the coverage here is brought to you by CBC Television of Canada.
That's the car we caught sight of moving slowly, was Marco Greco. There's Rahal.
Let's go pit side. Gary Gerould.
We've got a couple of updates here now. Hand calculators still being used by the Newman-Haas crew relating to the leader, Michael Andretti. They did not get that telemetry fixed. So again, every few laps he comes by gives them manually what he views on his dash a reading. We wondered about track temperatures. We've talked so much about weather. The track temperature Friday was 130 at its maximum. 131 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday. They started the race today, Paul, at 107 degrees. And at last reading just 2 minutes ago, it was only up 1 degree at 108. What a difference the overcast makes, even though it's still hot and sticky down here.
Well, the cloud cover makes a world of difference to the track temperature, not so much from the ambient. Also, for the moment, it looks like that there going to be no rain figuring into this race. At the start of the show, we suggested it might be, but while it's overcast, it looks fairly clear.
Yeah, the people that would have benefited the most from rain, DeFerrin and Christian Fittipaldi, are lying 6th and 7th. They're running well. Gary, it was interesting with those calculators out. Have you seen Apollo 13? It's kind of like going back to the old-fashioned way of doing business here.
Let's go back to Adrian Fernandez, 11th place. And Lynn, here you get a real good look at the suspension travel in the rear.
Yeah, you can really see the rear working and the, as it moves up and down and how much travel it is. And this track, the drivers and everybody are complaining how bumpy it is. You can see there as it went through a bump. And, it's so hard to get the setup right here where you have enough of suppleness, enough, clearance to be able to hit all the bumps at the same time to have a chassis as stiff as you want to be able to go as fast as it'll go. So a lot of bumpiness. And I was also watching when we had that in-car camera with Michael. how much the wheel just feels like it's going to jerk right out of your hand. And, you know, in a super smooth track like the Speedway, you just think left and the thing turns left. And
just
here,
off
if you watch
of Lake
your
Shore.
hands, you'll see that right there. I mean, he's not turning the wheel doing that. That's just vibration, literally feedback, kickback coming through the wheel. It's making that, you know, just jerk like it's going to jerk right out of their hands. So.
Lynn, do you wind up with sore wrists and stuff at the end of the race?
Well, not so much the wrist, but your whole grip, you know, really is, you get actual blisters and all of that, and it's almost like you can't release your hand from the wheel because you have to hang on to it so tightly, but at the same time, obviously not so too tightly so that it doesn't jerk it out.
Still, you'd rather be down there, wouldn't you, than watching it from up here?
You got it. Oh, look at that. When he hits that turn 11 bump, I mean, it literally feels like the car's going to go left, right.
What is the satisfaction of driving? I mean, it looks brutally hard. In your words, I have my own ideas, but why is this such a great thing to be doing?
Well, it just challenges every part of your being. I mean, it's the physical, the mental, you park the emotion, you absorb, you know, instead of us having our barrier be our body extension, it now is fully extends to the whole car. So it challenges every part of your being, and you don't even think about the pain that Tracy feels in his foot. You don't think about the fact that the wheel's ready to pull out of your hand, or that you're getting beaten to death by the chassis. You're just making that car go as fast as you can, and challenging yourself and your crew and everything, every part of your being to get the best there is to be gotten at that moment, which you hope is better than everybody else.
Leaving Fernandez as he passes the stadium now, coming back to the leader, Michael Andretti. 2.5 seconds ahead of Bobby Rahal, who just upped the ante again, turned a lap at 108.5 miles an hour. The fastest lap thus far. Back to the pits, Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, let's update you. We told you about Bobby Rahal trying to chase down the leader, Michael Andretti. Well, what about Jacques Villeneuve, who was the early leader and was so fast in qualifying? Well, the only thing that they're concerned about right now is staying within sight of Michael Andretti. They feel so strongly about their prowess, Team Green, on pit stops. They feel they can pick up the 1 to 1.5 seconds that they will need to overcome the leader. We've seen so many times in the last couple of races that the race is won on pit road. This team feels like they may have a good shot. They still have one stop to go where they can try and overcome Michael Andretti's lead. Let's check in with Gary Gerould.
Teo Fabi runs solidly in 5th place. The first part of the race for Teo and his crew was not a particularly good one. They were having some difficulties with the pop-off valve that controls the amount of air that's forced into the engine to create the valuable horsepower. It has now settled down. They say it's working fine at this point. They're settled into a 5th place, but they were disappointed that they had that problem early.
Back to that battle between Michael Andretti and Rahal. Russ Thompson, our statistician here in the booth, has been tracking that battle. On lap 42, Rahal was 8 seconds back. We've just completed the 55th lap. He is only 2 seconds back, so he is really whittling away at Michael Andretti's lead and been turning some just incredible laps while he does that.
But let's not lose the significance of the situation, which is that Mauricio Gugelmin is in the way again. There's Vasser locking it up, fighting for control. That is a beautiful piece of work. A lot of the drivers have their cars set up in such a way with a lot of what's called negative camber, the tires tipping in a lot at the front. That gives them trouble. It's good for tight turns. I'll get into that in a second, but it makes it very hard for them to brake for these hairpins.
Another thing is that on a street course like this, is you always want a little more rear brake so that you're always sure to be able to turn it into the corner. But you get a little too much rear brake, and as the chassis gets lighter, as you get fuel goes away, then you can sometimes lock those rears up.
We do want to keep an eye on Vasser because about 3 turns ago we saw a bit of a spray at the back of the car. Now that could have been dust that he picked up close to the wall. Could also be a precursor to some problem in the engine compartment, so we'll keep an eye on it.
Vasser is under just an awful lot of pressure right now, but there's nobody cooler this season. Vasser has come up through the ranks, from sprint cars to Formula Fords to Atlantics, you name it. He's driven them all, and he's won in all the different categories, and he's taken his success in Indy cars this year with his first big win, of course, at Portland, very much in stride. He's a very calm, pragmatic man. But you'll see it here. I would be surprised if he made a mistake under this pressure.
Well, Michael Andretti has just turned the fastest lap in the race, up to 108.7, as Joe Montana looks on with his wife Jennifer and watches Michael Andretti lead here.